Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Very good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sada Education. We are still reviewing some dimension of consumer financial protection, and one of the objective is to set expectation for the bank to effectively manage conduct risk and to provide financial consumer with the confidence that the bank act fairly in its dealing with financial consumer. So we know very well that the Islamic bank carry an Islamic label, which is Islam, and therefore consumer are attracted to Islam, and therefore they wanted to use the Islamic banking services because the Islamic label promise a lot of things. Number one, it ensure that the product offering are Sharia compliant, so consumer will not be dealing with prohibited transaction, and therefore they will feel blessed and blessed by Allah, by God. And at the same time, the Islamic banking, carry a very high ethical reputation. Because this is the Sharia dimension, which is the akhlaqi aspect, where morality and ethical standing is highly regarded in the Islamic banking business. So therefore, when people see that there is high ethical standing in Islamic banking, so the bank would be free from fraudulent action or any corruption that we see often taking place in many banks. So the conduct risk can be eliminated, can be mitigated, and therefore the Islamic bank will be a very good platform for people to enjoy a good banking services. That is why I am trying to, many times I'm trying to amplify the importance of value in Islamic banking, meaning that we should not be only involved in the screening of the transaction by virtue of requiring the contract to be free from riba, to be free from ambiguity or gharar, and to be free from gambling and the use of prohibited commodity, but we will also be looking at the risk behavior of the Islamic bank, so that they will not be overly aggressive, so that they will be prudent in their lending or in their financing activity. And therefore, this dimension of Islamic banking should also be given due attention. One of the important rule in Islamic banking, which we have extracted from the conception of sale or al-bay', is the risk-taking activity. So risk-taking is a fundamental rule in al-bay' or sale that all parties must observe. So in al-bay', each party must put its capital at risk in return for profit. So capital can depreciate in a loss event and appreciate in a profit event. So therefore, in al-bay', we are not only looking at the contract and the contract approach, where we would like it to be compliant when we stay away from the prohibition, but at the same time, the dynamicity of the al-bay' should also be amplified by virtue of the risk-taking character or attribute of al-bay'. That when we do al-bay', the merchant is risking his capital, and therefore profit and loss are not secured but determined by the market forces. And this is an equitable way of generating earning in business. So risk-taking is paramount. It is the first thing that any merchant or trader will do in conducting their trading business, that there is no such thing as risk avoiding, where profit is to be made without the taking of risk, because that will be riba. And therefore, risk-taking must be given its share due in the Islamic banking narrative. The other term that we should also be aware of is risk-sharing, because risk-sharing has been quite popular. It's quite popular term. But then I think there is some confusion what it is, because it seems as if risk-sharing is taking over risk-taking. But what is actually happening here is that when capital is invested in a collectivity, then risk-sharing will emerge, where losses will be distributed among the investor. But first, there must be risk-taking by the individual investor, and if they want to mobilize capital in a collectivity, or there is a participatory system of capital mobilization, then the risk-sharing will appear, and based on the risk-sharing contract, losses and profit will be distributed among the investing participants. So risk-taking and risk-sharing are two main sides of the same coin, as they complement each other, but risk-taking is first to occur, followed by risk-sharing. But then there are two stages of risk-sharing, so let us look at it in more detail. Number one is the first stage, where I have just mentioned earlier, that when we mobilize capital in a collectivity through a musyarakah arrangement, then we have a risk-sharing in capital mobilization. So we are looking at risk-sharing among the investor in a participatory platform. But number two would be risk-sharing when the investor is conducting a partnership with a business entity. Right? So we have the partnership, or the fund is now tied up to a business project, or tied up to an entrepreneur or to a project venture, and that is also one dimension of risk-sharing, which many of us would like to see, because most of the connection between bank and the business entity are based on debt financing. So Islamic bank uses deposit fund to do tawarruk, to do murabaha, which is debt financing. But what we want to see is that the bank uses the investment account to do equity financing with the business entity. So this is basically why what we need to do in order to amplify the importance of risk-sharing, where in the second stage, risk-sharing is a joint venture between the investment account investor and the project venture. So the project venture may hold, let's say, 20% ownership, while investor holds 80% ownership. So profit and loss will be distributed based on the ownership share. And risk-sharing, finally, can also be used in a mudarabah transaction, where ownership of the project venture remain with a mudarib, with operation funded by the Rabul Mal through the investment account fund. So dilution of ownership does not take place here, and profit is distributed based on the profit-loss sharing ratio agreed upon by the two parties. So this will be, one of the main, area in Islamic banking, where we need to further clarify risk behavior in two dimensions, risk sharing and risk taking, such that as we move on, our attention will become more dynamic when we are examining the performance of Islamic banking in the economy. So I think we can stop here today, and inshallah we'll meet again. Please don't forget to comment and to share and to subscribe. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.